One second can change your life. One moment can make or break you. One thought can set you on a completely different path to an entirely different life. One decision was all it took to destroy me. About 2 weeks before spring break, Rose had told me about this new guy who joined one of her classes and how she thought she was in love with him. I supported her and encouraged her to hang out with him more, and this was the first time Rose let me talk and hang out with another living being. I was super excited and happy to have this new guy in my life and being able to talk to him every day with Rose being okay with it too. He ended up being in my math class and he sat right in front of me, and I started to get super close to him as a friend and finally had something to look forward to every day of school. And as anyone could have guessed, I began noticing it started turning into something more serious than just a friendship between us, and I was scared of what Rose would say about it. I later found out that Rose didn't like him anymore, but liked a different boy in her art class, and she didn't care about the feelings I had for this boy. We'll just name him Ty. Spring break finally rolled around, and I was hanging out with Rose every day as usual. The Friday before the weekend of us going back to school, Rose suggested we go to her house to swim and that her mom just bought a bunch of popsicles so we could eat them all and watch movies the whole day. I thought this was the most brilliant plan ever, and packed a bag for her house just in case I ended up staying the night. We swam for hours and would get out of the pool to get a popsicle every 30 minutes or so. Her family was more on the rich side, so her pool was huge and had a water slide and built-in waterfall. So we liked to play pretend most of the time, and when we got back in from our popsicle breaks, we would change up the storyline. Things started to get a little bit weird after a few hours of us swimming. Rose started getting super close to me and kept complimenting how I looked in a bathing suit. I brushed it off, thinking she was just being nice and really liked the new suit that I had got, when things took a turn as she said we should cover the slides of her play area outside with all the beach towels. This reminded me of the last time we built a fort, and I got super uncomfortable again. Like, come on, man, I just wanted to play mermaids and eat warhead popsicles. So we got out of the pool and grabbed a bunch of the towels and brought them up to the playground. It felt darker after we set up the towels everywhere, and I remember Rose asking me if we could try something she saw online. I was confused and kept getting this queasy feeling in my stomach. My brain kept yelling at me to say no and get out of there, but my mouth didn't listen as I said, yeah, sure. One thing led to another, and I'm sure you could piece together what was happening. Sadly, it did not end there, as she decided that the platform of the playground was too rough, so she told me to just forget it, and we could dry off and go watch a movie in her room. My legs felt like jelly as I climbed down the ladder of the playground to go inside. I felt different, but I didn't understand what just happened, and I tried brushing it off and told myself it was probably nothing, and I just won't let it happen again. I will say no if she tries that again. We get into her room and had brought a bunch of snacks from the kitchen so we could watch movies she had on her computer. Rose told me that she had this super awesome princess tent she wanted us to put up. I think this girl had a hyperfixation on tents and forts or something, cause what is this crap? So you could probably guess what one of my phobias are now as an adult. We set up the tent and put all the snacks inside and laid everything out for our movie marathon. I remember her putting on Shrek Swamp Stories, and she told me to get comfortable while she went to do something really fast. So I did just that. I think I opened a bag of chips and was fully immersed in Shrek and his friends telling ghost stories to one another. I'd say about 10 minutes go by when Rose finally came back. I was still watching the movie when she crawled into the tent and whispered for me to lay back again. I felt my stomach drop, and I just looked at her from behind me and felt scared out of my mind. No way this was happening again, and in the same day too. The voice in my head kept screaming at me to get out of there and please say no. I didn't like it the first time, so this time wouldn't be any different. I looked at her terrified, but no words would come out as everything happened. This is the part where I look back and completely blamed myself. Did I lead her on? Maybe I gave off the wrong impression. And even though I didn't want this, why couldn't I just get one simple word out? I know now as I am older that it wasn't my fault. I was a kid, and I was never taught what to do in these kinds of situations. I was scared and feared that even if I said no, she would force herself onto me anyway. She was supposed to be my best friend. I never would have imagined she would be capable of doing something like this. I was only 12. I didn't understand why this was all happening to me. When it was finally over, I remember both of us just looking at each other. The atmosphere was so thick you could probably cut it with scissors. I told her that I had forgot my mom told me earlier in the day that I couldn't stay the night. and that I should probably call her to come pick me up before it got too late. And I did just that. We sat there on opposite sides of the room until my mom showed up, and we hardly said a word. I got in the car, and my mom was just smiling at me and asked me how the hangout went. I just looked at her, and I felt like I was going to throw up everything I had in my body. But for some reason, I just smiled and told her it was a lot of fun. When we got home, I felt so different. I felt things I had never felt before. Nauseous, on the verge of crying, like I wanted to just break down, but nothing would come out. I got up to my room and shut the door behind me, staring at the floor trying to process what just happened to me. This was someone I thought was my best friend in the whole world, who even though got jealous at times, would never do something as horrendous as this. For the remainder of spring break, I stayed in my bedroom and didn't talk to anyone. I felt something in me die that day. You don't forget that kind of feeling. When it was time for us to go back to school, I remember feeling utterly afraid to see Rose again. I never wanted this to happen again, but I knew I couldn't avoid her forever. I spent the rest of the year in jeans and a sweatshirt and never wore anything revealing again. I felt like a whole new person. I felt gross, and even though I didn't entirely understand what happened to me, I knew it was wrong and that I felt dirty because of it. Ty and I stopped being friends around this time after a dumb argument we had. He was the only other friend I had, and I blew it just like Rose said I would. I felt so alone. I didn't have anyone to talk to about this bomb that was about to go off inside me, and I didn't know how to fix it. I fell apart and everything changed from that day on. I want to keep in mind that Ty and I made up later on and are on good terms now. It wasn't his fault in the slightest. 7th grade is a big blur for me after all these things happened. I just remember going back to school and feeling numb every day. I had my first ever panic attack during my Spanish class and developed a bad case of anxiety that I still suffer to this day with. I began self-harming just so I could remind myself that I was still in some way a person and not just a hollow shell of someone I used to be. I kept it all a secret, and I don't remember the rest of the year afterward. Everything finally came to an end the week summer vacation started. Rose had just got her very first cell phone and would talk to my little sister through Snapchat. One day, my sister came to me in tears and told me that Rose was calling her a bunch of harsh names and had been saying terrible things about her family. I became infuriated and called her from the house phone almost immediately. When Rose answered the phone, I just remember cursing her out like there was no tomorrow as my family gathered around to hear what all the commotion was about in the front room. I screamed at Rose and told her that she could say and do whatever she wanted to me, but to never attack my family. She reluctantly stopped being friends with me after that phone call, and I think she realized that I can stand up for myself after all, and she didn't like that. I felt a little better after screaming at her to the heavens, but nothing changed with the feeling I had towards this big secret I was keeping from everyone around me. When the 8th grade started, Rose completely avoided me, and I didn't try to make amends with her, let alone try to fix our friendship at all. When first period started, we had to find the tables that had our names labeled on them. Rose was in my history class, and thankfully we never sat with one another the entire year. But I did sit at the table with the same person the whole year, and the first day was a day I will never forget. I was nervous at first, but after we sparked up conversation, we became best friends all over again. Valerie was the only person I ever told about what happened between me and Rose. I struggled for the longest time, and still do today. Finally realizing everything that happened and being introduced to my problems at school made a huge impact on me. Everything finally came out about what happened with Rose after an incident freshman year of high school. I still don't entirely know what happened that day, but to sum it all up, I just remember going to sleep in my math class and then waking up in the hospital where I would later meet my family and talk to different police officers about why I did what I did at such a young age and what happened with everything along the lines. Finally talking about it all and getting it off my chest was such a big weight lifted off my shoulders, and once middle school ended, I never saw Rose again, and I would end up making some of the greatest friendships of my entire life as I entered high school. I later learned in health class what everything meant between mine and Rose's friendship. My brain likes to remind me about it almost every day, but I have learned to adapt to it and have been getting the help for it now. It definitely isn't as bad as it used to be a few years ago, but it's still something I carry with me every day. I still don't entirely blame her for everything that happened though. Growing up with her, I always felt a bit off when it came to her dad. He was always a strange man, and me and my mom now looking back on it all think that something may have been happening for a kid to be introduced to something as serious as that. And even though what she did is not okay, I hope that whatever she may have been going through herself, she got the help she needed too. Now that I'm older, I've learned that it's something that happened, but it doesn't make me who I am as a person. I still have a long way to go with healing, but I know that it is possible for me and anyone else who may have gone through or are struggling with a similar story of their own. I am thankful every day to have made it this far, and being able to talk about my experiences and the trauma I endured makes me feel less alone in the world. There are so many people who are willing to help you as much as they can, and that love you no matter what the struggles you face may be. I care for you, and I hope you get the help you deserve to start your healing journey too. I promise it gets better and you will be okay. It's our first time being on this earth and we are still learning how to do it every day. Some struggle a bit harder than others. But no matter what, we are in this together. And in case you haven't heard it recently, I love you so much and I am so proud of the person you are becoming. You're gonna be okay, and I'm here for you the whole time. Sorry for such a change of atmosphere for a video. I had talked to my therapist about this video for a while, and she agreed it would be a great way for me to not only get this story out and start healing properly, but being able to hear others' point of views and supporting each other in a platform that I feel most comfortable in would be a great thing for me to try. This time in my life was difficult, but I am growing every day and becoming a better person day by day. I hope that whatever struggles you may be dealing with personally, you're able to get the help you need and feel a little less alone after watching this video. We just have to take it one day at a time, and I know that we can conquer anything we put our minds to. Anyway, I promise the next videos are going to be more upbeat and fun again after this 180 of a story, and I hope you guys continue following me with the journey of becoming a channel. I'm so thankful to have the community we're building now and love watching it grow more and more every day. I love you all from the bottom of my heart, and thank you so much for being patient too with video uploads while I try to find a good way to balance everything. Leave a like and subscribe if you're enjoying the channel. If you have any of your own personal stories you'd like to share or reach out to me with, you're more than welcome to message me on my Instagram linked below. I promise to do my best to get back to each and every one of you with any support that you may need. But for now, I will see you in the next video.